Well, it's only been a few days since news sites were boasting about the record-breaking sales for The Last of Us Part 2, and look where we are now. Hello, this is Mara Jade, and I'm here with another video, and as I stated in my previous videos, particularly about the sales, I never anticipated this game to do poorly. I imagined it would sell very well, primarily because it is a much-anticipated sequel to a very beloved game, The Last of Us, released back in 2013, but I also stated that the key would be from week 1 to week 2, and so forth. How well the game would do overall in the long run would determine how well received it actually is, not just within the first week. And here it is. The Last of Us Part 2 sales drop 80% in the UK. 80% from week 1 to week 2 in the UK, which is nearly all of those 4 million copies that were sold in the first week. That's, I don't necessarily want to say unheard of, but at the same time, it does not bode well for this game that people have been praising, these gaming sites have been praising left and right, and saying that it does not deserve the internet hate and so forth. And look at here, 80% in the UK. This is not people just complaining about it on the internet. This is people playing the game, and the word of mouth going around that it is not that good of a game, and you're seeing this drop. So let's go into this article, and I'm going to give my 2 cents on this whole situation that Sony and Naughty Dog have basically found themselves in, really by their own fault. So let's dive into this, shall we? The Last of Us Part 2 has remained at the top of the UK charts in its second week, according to GfK, for the week ending June 27, 2020. Sales dropped 80% week on week. This is a similar drop to Uncharted 4, which declined 78% in its second week. Uncharted 4, oddly enough, being another bone of contention with gamers who are fans of the first 3 Uncharted games in the series. Take that for what you will. And that 78% drop only beats The Last of Us Part 2 by 2%. Take that for what you will as well. The Square Enix Nintendo 3DS title, Bravely Second and Layer, sales shot up as the game was heavily discounted at UK retailer Argos. The game is in its second place as sales were triple its launch week in February 2016. So you have a game released 4 years ago, over 4 years ago, that was heavily discounted, that shot up to second place. SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated debuted in third place. The remake of the 2003 platformer is published by THQ Nordic. 2003 game shot up to third place. Animal Crossing New Horizons, after leaving the top 10 last week, saw sales increase 74% this week and jump up from 12th to 5th place. The Last of Us Remastered saw an 82% increase. 82% increase, as opposed to the decrease in sales to climb the charts from 17th to 9th. So it made the top 10. Here are the top 10 best-selling titles. So here they are. Last of Us Part 2 is number 1, even with the 80% drop from week 1 to week 2. Now, what I want to see is how well this game does overall when the Ghost of Tsushima comes out and when Cyberpunk 2077 comes out, because those are 2 very highly anticipated games for 2020. Now, people are looking at this going, well, it's a drop from week 1 to week 2, and like I said, huge drops are not necessarily unheard of, but at the same time, they were boasting about the sales, record-breaking sales, beating Spiderman, the Spiderman PS4 game. And how well did that do from week 1 to week 2? Well, here it is. Here it is. The Spider-Man game dropped only 42% in sales. 42%. Half, roughly half, of the drop in sales for The Last of Us Part 2. Another thing I want to look at real fast are the Last of Us sales figures from 2013. Okay? Now, it sold 3.4 million copies in its first 3 weeks. Okay? So yes, The Last of Us Part 2 dwarfed it in its first week alone, pretty much. However, if you take those 3.4 million copies and divide it roughly by 3, because it sold 1.3 million copies in its first week, it only had a 25% or so drop. Actually, a little bit less than 25% drop from week 1 to week 2. And part of the reason why I would assume that this game did not sell well overall in its first week, The Last of Us, is probably because of two reasons. One, it was not necessarily an anticipated game coming out, and two, 5 months later, the PS4 debuted, and most people are not going to buy a game unless it's backward compatible. So if it wasn't backward compatible for the PS4, people are looking at this going, well, why should I buy this game if I'm going to be buying a PS4 and I can't play it? Sort of a situation. But like I said, I'm looking at those figures and seeing it's only a little less than 25% drop from week 1 to week 2 back in 2013. So there's really no way that you can at all defend this. Now, if Naughty Dog had been honest, I don't think the sales would have been as good as it was, because they marketed with the trailer that Joel would be in it for much longer in the game, that it looked like it was going to be another adventure with Joel and Ellie and so forth, that Ellie was going to be the playable character in the game, and then lo and behold, let's back up a little bit, and then when they released the trailer, they purposefully altered scenes by inserting Joel where he wasn't in the game, and then aging him in certain scenes that were actually flashbacks, like I said, to make people think that he was going to be a predominant figure in the game, when in fact he's only in it for about 10% of the entirety of the gameplay. For a 25-hour plus gameplay scenario, he was in for a couple hours before he was, spoiler alert, people know by now, brutally killed by Abby. A character that people also found out that they would be forced to play for half of the gameplay. So they're coming in thinking they're only going to play as Ellie, and then they're forced to play as another character that they don't care about at all. Plus, that character that they don't care about was the one that killed a beloved character from the first game that people thought was going to be in for most of the game in The Last of Us Part 2. So now we're going from week 1 to week 2. Word of mouth is spreading about people's displeasures for the game. I think if you were to take out the purposefully negative and positive reviews on Metacritic, I'd say probably the game is middling of the road in quality, the 5 to 6 range in terms of rating. That would be my guess based on everything I'm hearing for games. I know PewDiePie gave it a 6 out of 10, and I think he's being just a little bit generous in that. I think he wanted to give it a slightly lower score, but he gave it a 6 out of 10, and I think he was being very fair in his criticism and his analysis of the game while he was playing it. But there it is, folks, an 80% drop. Like I said, the key right now is how well it will sell in the long run. How well from week to week and so forth it will do once word of mouth starts spreading, once people start finding out that, hey, these leaks were true, that we've been talking about for nearly 2 months. Is what it is, folks. I'm just reporting this as it is. I'm not planning on buying this game, but if you've bought this game, what do you think of it? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you think it deserves all the flack it's getting? Do you think maybe, just maybe, it's getting a little bit more flack than it deserves? Maybe the gameplay is more than makes up for the story itself, even though it's a story-based game. Let me know down in the comments what you think. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up, share on social media if you will. I will be on Drunk3PO's channel tonight around 8 p.m. or so-ish, whenever he determines the time for the live stream that I do on his channel with that Tug Life and My Nerdy Home. And so until my next video and or live stream, this is Mara Jade, and I'll catch you on the dark side. Oh, this is going to be fun. Take care.